Welcome back, everybody, to the Words from the Nerds podcast. I am one of your great hosts, Cubson, aka Charlie. Unfortunately, we don't have the names on the screens anymore, so I have to verbally say it for you. But I am joined by my two lovely co-hosts. I won't shit talk them today. I've already been doing that enough before the cameras started. Ben and Aiden. How are we doing on this lovely night, gentlemen?
I'm doing great. I just watched a piece of media that we're going to discuss today. I won't spoil my thoughts on it, but I'm excited to talk about it. And that could mean anything. I am excited to talk about it. So I'm ready for this discussion. Had a nice little day off. It was raining all day. That's all I can ask for.
Petrichor.
What?
It's the smell after it rains. It's called
nice
petrichor.
smell.
Petrichor. I like that.
It was raining here as well, which I guess isn't too surprising because we don't live that far away.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Sunny skies here today in Oregon.
Which is interesting because you're the state that I would expect to be raining today and
to get rain.
sunny, but I guess things are flipped on its head.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing good. I'm excited for this. I gotta say that I don't know. I feel like this series I didn't hear too much about it leading up to it. We knew it was coming, but with all the other stuff with the DC universe with James Gunn and the Batman 2 getting delayed, I feel like there was just a big question mark on how the series was going to turn out. So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
If you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk and discuss and mildly review our thoughts on The Penguin, episode 1 on HBO Max. I'm going to keep saying HBO Max because they were stupid to take HBO out of the name, but that's fine. Obviously, we're big fans of the Batman universe so far. There's only been one entry as of now. I guess there's technically two, being episode 1, but we're big fans of the Batman film. We think it's a fantastic film. I mean, I guess I don't want to speak too much for these gentlemen, but it's we love it. We love it. Aiden put the suit on his list. You guys probably saw that. I mean, a little bit of a dick righty take if you ask me, but that's fine.
This man also this no. You were the last one to talk having a fucking Captain America suit as your number one pick. Captain America suit as your number one pick? Come on, buddy.
What's wrong with Steve Rogers, man? What he represents? Golly, you chose the guy that puts people on the brink of death.
Yeah.
He beats people till they're almost dead.
And that's how I like it,
man.
That's how I like it.
It's been 3 weeks. You guys are still beefing.
It's all love, baby. It's all love. But is our opinion on the Penguin all love? Firstly, of course, I don't want to forget, actually, a little bit of housekeeping. I want to mention, again, you guys can leave us fan mail, leave us comments. If you're listening on audio, if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, something like that, firstly, leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. But secondly, you can leave us a comment, any sort of comment, whatever you want to say. If you want to say how stupid we are, we will read it aloud. Think about that. You get to say how dumb we are, how dumb you think we are, and we will read it aloud for everybody to hear how dumb you think that we are, and maybe people will agree with you. Just saying. Might be worth a shot. But keep that in mind listening throughout this episode, because the next episode could start with a comment from you. But now I want to jump in to the Penguin, and I want Aiden's thoughts first.
My thoughts first. Okay. I like what Ben said about this sneaking up on us. I remember hearing that they were in talks to have a spin-off show in the Batman universe. I think maybe even an Arkham Asylum spin-off. I can't remember correctly. But I for sure remember hearing about a Penguin series. And the thing, I don't know why I think like this, but anytime I hear of a spin-off of a movie or a spin-off show of this or that, I never really take it too serious. I'm always just like, okay, that's cool, but we'll see if it comes to fruition. And with a Penguin show in the Batman universe, I was kind of like, oh, that'd be cool, but one, why? And two, we'll see if it even happens. Well, here we are. It snuck up on me. And since we're covering it, obviously I'm going to be there every week. And I thought it was really, really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I love this being a Sopranos mob boss movie set in the Batman universe, because this is already a universe that's well established after just one movie, which I think we talked about a little bit on our Joker episode. But that's something I love about a Batman universe, is getting to see Gotham, getting to flesh out the world of a crime-ridden Gotham. And I think the Batman does that really, really, really well. And it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. I mean, you literally open the movie on Gotham, you know? And so that's one thing I loved from the movie. So getting to explore that more here made me feel really warm and fuzzy inside. And so I think I liked a lot of what they did. I like the direction that they're taking this iteration of Penguin. There's a lot of cool things they did throughout the show, such as, I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself, but just watching the Penguin navigate his status in this city full of families of that hold very high power. And so I thought that was really cool to see Penguin in that role, and to see Penguin as like this man who will fight tooth and nail for himself. And I saw New Rockstars make a lot of comparisons of The Sopranos, of this to The Sopranos, which we'll talk about later, such as like things with his mom and whatnot. But again, we'll touch on all of that later. Just to give my bare thoughts, I thought it was great. I am so very excited to see more of it. I think they left this episode off on a great note. And like I said, just it left a good taste in my mouth. And I can't say there's any characters that bring this show down. I think everyone in here and everything they do only uplifts the show even more. So I think it was a great first episode. I had a great time watching it. It's paced phenomenally. Like, I was 40 minutes in, and I was like, I paused it, and I was like, how am I only 4 minutes in? Like, how am I 40 minutes in? Like, I feel like it's been 20 with the way we've been going through this. Lots of scenes of just sitting down and talking, which, Charlie, I love. And so I can appreciate it for what it is. And I'm very, very, very excited to keep this going. So, yeah. I don't know if we were rating episodes or whatnot, but I have solid 9 out of 10 for me.
Okay. Benji, I would love to hear you bounce off of any of Aiden's thoughts, or if you don't want to do that, just tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I definitely noted was just like introducing us right back into Gotham, and even just how they decide to connect us from where we were at in the Batman to this point. Like, they just open up with it, bridge that gap really easily, and then go from there. And that's like, at this point, that's all they feel they need to do, other than, some of the story references. So I think that was a great way to just like take us right back into Gotham, right back into some of the things that were set up with like the characters that we know from the Batman. I really did like this first episode. I think, like, as a crime drama, it was really enjoyable to watch. I hope that the story, which I'm sure it will, but I really do hope that it starts to flesh itself out a bit more in the coming episodes, because at least for this episode, it felt like a lot of things just happening, and then we're watching the Penguin and how he reacts to all of the things happening around him, which still is really good, and like we get to see a lot of his character, and I like a lot of those dynamics and those situations that he's put into. I want to see that kind of shift to where he kind of has more control of the narrative and whatnot, less of like a reaction to the events around him. So I think for a first episode though, that like that approach to it is totally fine. I think Colin Farrell just does a great job embodying this character. It still doesn't even like look like him some of the time. Like, it's hard to imagine him when you think about some of his other roles where he doesn't have all the prosthetics and whatnot. And then the other thing that I didn't know about this series, I didn't know it was TVMA, which they haven't like dove into that too incredibly far, but it's definitely a lot more mature than the Batman was. And so I don't know how that's going to affect the future of the series, but that's just not something that I knew. And then all of a sudden they're dropping F bombs, and I just wasn't expecting it. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out, because I do think that for like a crime drama, that an R rating kind of just like fits the tone of that. So hopefully they embrace that and that elevates it a little bit. But yeah, as a first episode, I really enjoyed it. I just think they have a lot more that they're cooking up. Um, and it did feel like a lot happened in this episode. Like just thinking about everything that went on, we covered a lot of ground. Like in retrospect, just thinking back on it. So I like where they're going with it. If I had to rate the episode, probably an 8 for me personally, just for those reasons of it, as it being an introductory episode, they're still kind of finding their footing. And I think that like a lot of the elements were really good, but story wise, we still have a lot to get to. But I definitely really enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah. um, you know, I'll try not to echo some of the same things you guys have been saying, because I do have similar thoughts. But for me, I want to preface, I guess, by saying I rewatched the Batman before this, and because I hadn't seen it since 2022. It's still good, still really good. Side note, actually, Halloween falls on Thursday this year, and yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, the movie opens Thursday, October 31st.
Can't wait
So
to see the
that's gonna be hype.
memes. Yeah.
But in that movie, obviously Colin Farrell does a fantastic job. He does a fantastic job with what little time he's given in that film. And I think that largely carries over to this show as well. Not even largely, just entirely. I loved this. I thought it was really, really damn good. I think in terms of like the story aspect of it, I do think it was like a very well self-contained episode. There is not much that I can see following as a through line, other than like specific characters in the coming episodes, besides like the shipment that's upcoming and whatnot like that. Like that's where I think the crux of the story is going to continue. That was like a mild spoiler, but not really a spoiler. I do think everything that they did in this episode was perfectly well contained and accomplished its job tenfold, I would say, truthfully. I don't know the actress's name, but she plays, I think, is it Sophia Falcone?
Yeah.
Is that her first name? Yeah.
Yeah.
She did a great job. I know she's in, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but a movie called Palm Springs. She's good in that as well. It's a very good movie. It's a one of those like Groundhog Day, repeating the same day over and over again. But
She's also in The Sopranos.
oh,
Yeah.
Kristen Miliotoni.
Maroney? Oh shit, she's a double agent. Oh shit.
this guy. Oh, another side note. I need me them penguin toes, bro.
Oh sheesh, dude. Wow.
No way.
Oh no.
I love the actor who plays Victor as well, and that might be a little bit biased on my part, because he's in the Runaways, which is a Marvel show, and he's, I think, one of the main characters of that show, and he does a really good job in that. He was also in Teen Wolf, and I'm a big Teen Wolf fan. But he does a good job here too, with the way he plays. I've seen, not to, I guess, shit on him, but I've seen other people play stutters probably a little bit better than he does. But I mean, he still does a good job, certainly. And I'm interested to see that relationship blossom with the two of them, Penguin and Victor. Obviously, they're already Penguin, Oz Cobb, is already at a point where he trusts Victor, and wants to grow this side of the business with him. So, in other words, though, I want to see if like maybe Oz looks at his disability and kind of relates to him in that way, to some extent because of his feet and everything like that. It looks like, I don't know if you guys watched after the episode, but there's like a little trailer for what's to come in the season and whatnot. It looks like we will be getting flashbacks as to like Oz's life growing up and whatnot. I don't know if they'll be extensive or whatever, but anyway, other than Victor, I mean, obviously it laid the groundwork of the Falcone family a little bit with those two head guys, and I'm sure we're gonna see more of them. And I also love, and I actually will push back a little bit on what you said, Ben, about him being like reactionary to the story. I think in the last little bit of the episode, that was him like controlling the narrative, having Victor send the body and whatnot, and have it say payback. Small thing that really doesn't matter. My classic thing I bring up almost every episode. A small thing that really does not matter at all. Why? What was Victor not answering the phone for? You know, like Oz was getting chased, and then Victor's just not answering. Like, I don't know. Are we getting? Not are we getting anything about that? Obviously, I don't think we will because it doesn't matter. But it seems weird. It seems like they were trying to play that up as like, oh, this is Victor just leaving his ass behind, and then Victor still comes in clutch, you know? But again, doesn't matter. I love the beginning of the episode, man. Like watching him, as Aiden mentioned, I love a good sit down and talk scene too. And so when I'm watching Oz and Falcone's son sit down and chat, and like you can feel the tension building a little bit. And then when he gets up, he starts laughing at him, and he just pulls out his dude, that was so good. I was oh my gosh, man. And then it was perfect. Go ahead. No, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. God, I'm tired
sorry.
I don't care.
I was just gonna touch on what you said. Because I had that in my notes that I love the way that they wrote tension in this show. They did it twice, especially with that conversation he has with Sophia, where she gets in his ear, and when they're leaving, she gets in his ear and she says something about "I always knew you were more," or something like that. And then and that music just slices through that scene, like holy shit! I love how they were able to just keep some of the same tones from the Batman with like score, camera, or like how they shoot the show, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, especially scenes like that, I think they did. I think they were able to write tension so well.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with that line, because obviously, like that, you're meant to take that and think, and as I think as well as Oz thought as well. Like you're thinking what she's thinking. Like she knows that he's involved with it, and that's her explaining how she knows, essentially, while still keeping the upper hand. Even like the only, I guess, problem I mildly had was like, again, doesn't matter, but like Victor is the only kid that decides to just, stop and not keep running from the guy with the gun, Again, doesn't matter. It's a small thing, which is why I think I'm gonna give this like a 9 out of 10 if we're rating episodes. Like I truly do. I think that this is a fantastic start to a season. I'm fully hooked in, as opposed to, and I don't like to compare shows, but compared to the Marvel show running right now with Agatha all along.
Compare it.
Yes,
do it.
I'm still in for Agatha. I'm intrigued with what's going on, and as I mentioned in that episode, but it's like a 6 out of 10 interested. Like I'm barely above the midline interested. This I'm fully into like every single piece of the atmosphere, and as Aiden mentioned, that's one thing I'm bummed about as well. I thought we would see a little bit more of like the reeling of Gotham after the flood in the Batman and whatnot, and maybe we will. Maybe that's yet to come. But just so far, it just seems like they've already gotten all the water out of there and everything. Like people are just having no issue driving around and whatnot. They did have there was like one little line about Victor's family living where the water hit pretty hard, but I think that's the extent of the conversation of the flood. Also, you guys might be able to provide insight. Does this pick up like where? Because at the end of Batman, there's that shot of Penguin looking out the window, and we opened the show with that. So is that meant to be like the same scene? Do you guys think? If you
We
remember
open
what
the
I'm talking about.
we open the show with that, but then as it's cutting in between like the news broadcasts and stuff, I thought there was a point where I thought they designated like a time frame of how long it had been, but I think it's very soon after.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Because I was just gonna say
days.
like if. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah. Because, especially yeah, with Falcone's son showing up. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I didn't
Go
know
ahead.
you were done.
No, no, no. Actually, yeah, no. Genuinely, you're good. I gave my rating and everything. I don't got much else to say.
I just wanted to add on to what you said about how the problem you had with like Victor being like the last one behind, because I do agree. I started to feel like things were just like a little too convenient with him and Victor and their relationship, and it goes like pretty quick, which I get. You have to set up throughout the entire first episode, and you have a whole like hour and 10 minutes to do so. So I guess maybe just because it's the first episode and we're already at that point, I'm ignoring the whole hour and 10 minutes that we spent of setup. But regardless, I do agree to that point of it. Just kind of felt a little convenient. It kind of went a little fast, which I don't necessarily mind. Again, it's like you said, it's a cinema sins type of critique.
Yeah.
I just figured I'd touch on that as well because I did agree with that. But yeah,
I
Same
think
kind of level for me. Yeah, yeah, Ben. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Let the big boys talk. Come on.
Oh,
Same
I
kind of
thought you were
level for
gonna
me.
let me talk.
CinemaSins. CinemaSins. Another CinemaSins critique. Oz lets him drive right after they put the body in the trunk. Bro, if that's me, bro, this dude who waddles like a penguin, like slow as hell, barely can get, bro, gives me the keys. I'm casually speed walking to the front door. Granted, it's his car, sure, to the front door of his car, getting in the car and driving away before he can get in the car, and then I'll ditch his car somewhere else. Like I don't know, like that was, but again, that's CinemaSins level. Like
yeah.
like that's just like a that shouldn't play out like that. Like it does not matter.
Yeah.
It's not an actual critique against the show. Sorry, Ben. Go.
Well, what I'm gonna say is kind of in defense of all of that from my perception of it, which like to an extent I still agree with you guys. But I think part of Victor's character is because of what happened to his home and his family, which we still, a little bit of a mystery. But that's what led him to crime in the first place, when he's trying to jack Oz's car. And so to me, clearly, at least it seems, he's new to this. And so that to me justifies some of like the not being the smartest or even, being scared enough to like not always be in the right mindset with like, running away with everybody else or like if listen, if you're in that position with you get the keys to the car, you might be so scared that you don't want to risk something like that. You start running to the car, you're shot before you open the door type of thing. So like in a little bit of defense, he seems like you know, he maybe was a good-hearted kid, nice guy, and then just like circumstances is what led him down this path. And so, I don't know. I feel like he just has a bit of a different mindset. He's not street smart because he's not used to it, didn't grow up on it. Those are like the vibes that I get from his personality. So that like I still agree to an extent and especially like that it's kind of convenient in a way, but I think I understand what they were at least trying to go for.
That's fair. Because I could see him like, especially if he's like a scared innocent kid and he hasn't really done this before. Like instead of running, he chooses to try to like calm things down with the guy that's shooting at him, or maybe or whatever, and make things right however he can.
And I will say I did say I had critiques on it, but I do love that Oz could kind of see his disability and relate to him on that level and be even open to just like, I'll let him help me out a little bit and then I'll kill him in the park, because like he does want to kill him afterwards. And so as much as I was pushing on it, I will say that that's another reason why I'm like, it's not a deal breaker at all. It's just kind of like oh, this is convenient, this is kind of but I do love that addition of Oz kind of being soft to him because he sees that he also has a disability. I think that the layers that they added on his character in just one episode, before, like Charlie said, we are probably also getting a flashback, but just the work they did on his character in just this first episode, showing his scheming side, which we'll get into later, showing his ruthlessness with Alberto, whatever his name is, Falcone, but then also showing like his soft side and his relationship with his mom and why he does the things that he does. I can only praise the character work here. Did I? What, are you laughing at me?
No, I was
okay.
laughing when you brought up his mom. I remembered a scene.
Oh, okay. I was like,
or
because
not, or just part of that scene.
When I said why he does the things that he does, I was like, I feel like I said that wrong, and then I looked at you laughing, and I was like, what? Tell me, did I say something wrong?
No, you're not good.
No, but like his motives and stuff, I can only praise the things they do in this, and so gotta say I love that as well.
I just, since Charlie laughed while thinking about a scene, I gotta say, moments where surprisingly funny, like really subtle about it, but just like the character of Penguin and some of the different situations or even some of the lines and whatnot, I thought it just like it still entirely has like that, you know, more serious, dark mobster tone, but the little bits that are funny, it fits. It fits in just fine, and I did appreciate that. I noticed it a couple times. I'm just like, this works so well.
Yeah.
And when he tells Victor, like, if you step out of line one time, I'll whatever he says he's gonna do to him, and he's like, now shut up, I want to look at the sunset.
Or when he says, I asked for extra pickles and they gave me 2. What the fuck is a regular pickle? Just one?
Just one. And he's like, you want one of mine? He's like, what? No, why would I want one of your little dirty little mouth pickles or whatever he said?
That's so good.
I was laughing because when he was talking to his mom and he told his mom why he shot Alberto, and his mom was like, "You little pussy boy, Oz, you little pussy boy." Like, what the fuck? I wanted to talk about another little convenience thing, but like I can buy into it, I guess, because of Falcone's reach, the Falcone family's reach. How does she find that kid that ends up dying right before, like right in front of Penguin?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
Like, I know Penguin told her that some kids tried to rob his car, tried to steal the rims off his car, but there's how many kids in Gotham? How do you do that? I don't know.
I agree with that, but I'll talk about a way it made me feel. That I feel like adds a lot to Sophia's character, because obviously we can tell, like, they talk about how she got back from Arkham and that she was rehabilitated and that she seems a little like not crazy, but I'll do anything for my family. Doesn't matter who or what I have to kill. And so I think the fact that she just even found that kid to get information out of him because she was that hell-bent on trying to figure out Penguin's scheme, and then just shoots him right in the face in front of him. I feel like that's why I do agree with what you're saying. Like, how did she find him? Like, but it is a Cinema Sins. It's our Cinema Sins hour. But I will say, if I could take anything away from it, it was that this Sophia character is kind of psycho, and that she's willing to do whatever it is for her family. And the fact that, and again, I do love that the fact that the Penguin just sat there, that Oz sat there and was like, nah, he lied. Like, what the fuck? And she just shot him, and he's like, oh, fuck. And then everything happened. The fact that he's even able to do that in front of her and then go eat were they eating after? No, they were drinking the slushies. And then go drink a suicide slushie. Like, it adds a lot to how careless of characters that they both are, and how psycho that Sophia is. I guess that's something you could take away from it.
Yeah. I actually love that scene too, like at the very end of the episode when he's like, see, when I told you when you mix the flavors together, it's better. And then yeah, Victor's like, yeah, it's pretty good. And he's like, it's not just good, it's better. Like, all right, bro.
Oh
One of the
god.
things with Sophia's character, I don't know if I'm like I didn't pay attention to it fully, but like I thought about it a few times. I don't know if I ever saw her blink a single time throughout the entire episode. And like I didn't pay attention to it the whole time, but there were sequences where I like noticed that she was like wide-eyed the whole time, never blinking, never she's directly looking at who she's talking to, and
Wow.
it like kind of that, psychopath personality. It definitely adds to her craziness, which like craziness plus the power of the family that she's in, they did like set that up really well, especially now that Alberto got killed off so quickly. Because at first I was just like, okay, so we're dealing with the Falcone family, and then I was like, oh well, I guess he's gone, and I didn't know how that would then like affect things, and so like bringing in the sister and how that changes that dynamic. Like, I like what they're doing, setting up the different dynamics and whatnot of the families throughout Gotham, and how the Penguin is kind of just like he's under all of them, and so he can kind of pick and choose, but seems like maybe he's trying to step above all of them as well and show that he actually has something more to offer. Anyways, I know I just said a lot, so sorry that I went on a little tangent there.
I also wanted to mention, and I'm not the person that thought of this. I think I saw it on Twitter from somebody. But I do like the idea, and I don't think they're going to explore this or even play with this at all. I think this is just like a DC fan headcanon kind of thing. But they said that like the difference in like Oz finding Victor instead of like Victor doing some criminal thing and then Bruce finding him while he's out Batmaning, and then like he could have potentially taken him in as like Robin or something, because that's how he recruited. I think Dick was doing was like stealing from people in an alleyway or something, or maybe Jason. I don't know. Doesn't matter. He found one of the Robins like that, maybe all of them. And so just to see it's funny to see the difference, I guess, in like if the villain finds the person, or because like obviously Victor's very impressionable, and I think we're gonna see that a lot this season of him learning lessons from Penguin, especially now that Victor has no other family to fall back on. It sounds like so all of his morals and stuff are gonna come from Oz, which if he got him from his pussy boy mother,
I
it'll be interesting to see.
I did see a tweet, or no, it was a comment on an edit of Victor and Oz, and someone was like, "How did Penguin get a Robin before Batman?" I thought that was pretty funny. I do wonder what, like, maybe not. I mean, we'll see. We'll see as the rest of the season goes on. I'm still wondering how this would play in, if at all, and if there's been any news where they say that this is just standalone. Correct me if I'm wrong, but or just stop me. But I do wonder how this will feed into the Batman Part Two, in terms of Oz, in terms of story, and also in terms of Victor. I guess that could also be a discussion for later as we get towards the end of the episode, but something to think about because I did grow very fond of Victor this episode. I think they did a good job at, even though I said it was rushed, I think where we ended up was a really good spot, and where we ended the episode was a really good spot.
I know Matt Reeves was a producer on this, but I don't know
That's what I was
how much of a
wondering.
hand he had in like writing the story, and so I feel like unless he was involved in this, he won't adjust the Batman 2 based on this. But like if he was involved in it and knowing about it the whole time, then he might have, put in little things or even set up characters that will flow into Batman 2. But I don't think that he was super involved in the writing process. I could be wrong. I think he was just a producer on this. So I don't I don't see there being any huge connection or character crossover. I think there are definitely just like, the state of Gotham, or depending on what happens with the different mob families and whatnot, you don't know how that could affect things in the future, just considering how big those families were in the first Batman film. So I think there will be an effect, but I don't know. I don't know how big of an effect.
It just makes me wonder. I guess I've done this a lot with shows that we've covered, or I mean, I say shows that we've covered, shows that we've talked about, and I guess covered if you want to include Agatha. It's just like, why? How does this fit into the bigger picture? Why was this made? And even if this is just a standalone and they just wanted to tell a story, like, I'm not looking for anything to be connected to a grand scheme. Like, and I guess maybe just the fact that it is in a DC universe or that it is in a Marvel universe, I makes me want to ask that question. But even if this was just a standalone, I still want to know why. Like, what is the objective? Why is this being made? What story are you trying to tell? And so I like to ask that. I like to think about that, even though we're only one episode or one or two episodes into the shows that we're covering. The fact that they are in a bigger universe and the fact that they are being made of characters that people wouldn't really see a TV show be made of them, I do think a lot about, why is this story being told. So yeah, I don't know, figured I'd bring it up for y'all.
You guys think Oz comes out as a crime boss by the end of this, maybe? And that's like, and we go into Batman 2 or Part 2,
Well,
with him being like a new Falcone, essentially.
yeah, I think what they did at the end with him planting that ring on Sal, and then telling Victor, like, "Oh, Sal has the ring, so that puts the blame on the Maronis, but they can't be mad at me because now they're back in power and I did that for them." So just seeing him play both of these families and play the tug of war for power in this, I could see that happening, and I could see this being a story of him getting to that level. I haven't watched The Sopranos, but I know that a lot of people have compared those things to each other. I know that they've compared Oz to Tony Soprano, but I even think of like the power dynamic of like a Breaking Bad, which is the next the other show that you could compare this to that deals with crime and power complex. And so I think so. As far as future Batman movies touching on it, I could see that. I could even see the Penguin being a good number two villain in a Batman movie, or working alongside another villain in a Batman movie, and this kind of being the stepping stone for that, where you can watch it if you want to know more about the story, but if you don't watch it, you can easily just go into the Batman part 2 or 3, and it wouldn't be a surprise to see the Penguin in a higher powered scene as everything that happened in the first Batman movie. He's already there for that. Like, he's already in that first movie, and that's what I think is so cool, is they've mastered this world building in just a movie and an episode, to where once you get to those future Batman movies and sequels and stuff, nothing comes as a surprise whether you've watched the show or not. It's more just like, here's a treat if you did sit through our Penguin TV show, and if you didn't, you can still enjoy this. And so I think what that's why I think I can praise the world building so much, is because I can see that being a possibility.
I think that I definitely see his character could be involved in the future of the universe, but I think they would have to balance it well, which they definitely did in the first Batman film. I mean, Riddler was an amazing villain, and Penguin being in the film didn't take away anything from the Riddler. And so they can have him be involved, but I wouldn't want Penguin's involvement in the Batman 2 to take away from the main villain or the main storyline. And I don't think, because he was a decent part of the first Batman film. I mean, like, nothing crazy, but he was in there a decent amount, and now he's getting his own show. I don't really see him being that much of a focal point in the second Batman. I mean, he definitely could be there and serve a purpose. I don't want him to get so big in this show and become so important, and then the Batman 2 come around and he's like a crucial, huge part of the story. Especially because we're getting a whole TV show based off of him. So I think a lot of people would say like, you know, if we're getting another, let's say it's another 3 hour Batman movie, if the Penguin is one of the big focuses, I don't think that most people will be happy with that. They kind of want to keep exploring something different. So I think that he could have involvement, but I just hope that they don't, put all their eggs in one basket with his character, and that they just like continue to branch out and do something different. Because they do have a lot of possibilities that they could do and a lot of villains that they could explore. So I don't necessarily think that if we're getting a whole show for him that he needs to be a villain in the next Batman film. Like even if he wasn't in it at all, but he was mentioned because of some significant event in Gotham or whatever, like I wouldn't be upset by that. Like I don't need him to be a big part of the next film.
Like a throwaway line about how he's one of the new crime bosses or something, and that's
Sure.
probably all you need. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. And I personally do think that this show is going to end with Penguin becoming a crime boss of some sort. I don't know if he'll take over the Falcone family or he'll just be operating like beside them or along them, but higher up in some way. But I do think I agree that like I don't. With that being said, I don't want him to therefore have a bigger focus in like the Batman Part Two. But I just mean as a character to have him, because I brought up the question in reference to what Aiden was talking about, why this show should exist, and we talked about this with Agatha as well. And so if that doesn't happen, and like I don't know, we end up with Oz in the same spot, I don't see what the point would have been of for this show, specifically this character, I guess I should say. And if he ends up in the same spot, I don't understand the point of it. Even but if he ends up even like lesser, if he's like down in the dumps, even worse than he is when we started the show, or potentially dead, depending on how they play that and how they write that, I could see that and appreciate that. So obviously, we're not going to know what the actual genuine purpose of the show is until we get later into it, but just some hypotheticals early on, I guess.
I guess I want to answer your question more directly, just like the purpose of the show and him becoming a mob boss by the end. I definitely see that as a possibility. And when it comes to the purpose of the overall show, I think I forget who said it before. I feel like it's been thrown around a lot by actors when they're asked like if they're going to return to certain roles or whatnot. And the answer is always like, if the writing is good, I will come back to this role type of thing. And so I kind of view it in that lens where like maybe some people who worked on the Batman, and again, I don't know who is writing this show, but maybe some people who worked on the Batman or even Matt Reeves maybe had some influence, or Colin Farrell. Maybe they said this character is interesting enough and we have stories to tell. And so then they decided, to actually write a script and now release the show about it. And so far we're seeing the fruit of that. I mean, it is very well written, and it's justified. Even if it is self-contained at this point, it seems like we are going somewhere, and it seems like they did have, even if we don't see the purpose, there's definitely like the passion. Like there it seems like there's a reason, and I feel like that to me can justify it enough. Like just having a passion for a story and writing it well, even if we don't know the full extent of it at this point, I feel like that's at least enough for me.
Yeah, and I think it's perfectly fine to not know the extent of it at this current juncture. But I guess just I don't want to come out of this. I don't want to come out of this wondering why this had to happen. That's not the right word. Why this happened at all? Because then I feel like it was a failure of like a spin-off kind of. If you can't show me why, as like from a writing perspective, and I keep mentioning to you guys that I like character the most. From a character perspective over everything else, especially with this explicitly focusing on the Penguin. If you can't show me why I should care, why this should matter, why this should matter for the universe, because clearly they didn't have to build a universe, but they're choosing to by doing this. So I think that's another good point as well. Show me why this is needed to build this universe, and then we'll talk. So, but I agree. Like, it's just having the passion for the idea behind it is enough to get me to watch, and that's why I watched the first episode, and now they hooked me in for the rest. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Go for it, Ben. Go for it, please.
to compare it to Agatha, just because these are the two concurrent shows, in my opinion, when we talked about the purpose of that show, we kind of concluded that the purpose could be, like bringing Wanda back from the dead, basically. And so it feels like, you have to have the passion to write the show, write it well, build up to that moment. And for me, at least, Agatha feels like so far that it's skipped most of that. Like, I haven't found it particularly engaging, and I don't feel that passion for it yet. And it could still have the purpose by the time we get to the end of it. This, like, we could theorize about the purpose, but I already feel the passion at the very beginning. And that's what I think is like setting these shows apart, is like from the start, we have the passion, and so then we can get to the purpose and it feels justified. Whereas even if Agatha, I think I said this on our episode, even if they do end it by bringing Wanda back, like that doesn't necessarily fix the show from having poor pacing or not a great story to get to that point. So that's like an interesting difference, which will be even more interesting just because like these shows are basically running like for the exact same amount of time, just because of the staggering weeks and Penguin having one less episode, but Agatha doing double drops and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see, like, by the time we get to the finale of these shows, if well, I guess I won't speak for all of us, but if I still feel that same kind of difference between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting, Benji. That will be.
I would have to agree, though, that I am very locked in and I'm very focused on this. Whereas Agatha, I mean, I guess I'm kind of like still hesitant on it. But I kind of figured that'd be the case. I mean, it's a Penguin show with a little bit of the same production as the Batman, same universe. They know what they're doing. They know what they're going for. Penguin's a better character, and so I'd have to fully agree. I will say I love, just to finish touching on some of the consistencies from the Batman to this, because I was talking to Brandon about it, and he was like, I do kind of wish the cinematography was a little bit better because, or like at least match the Batman. I'd have to push back and say that I feel like it was very good. I feel like it was great, especially coming off of something like Agatha, which, I mean, we're just comparing the two concurrent shows right now. I thought it was great, and I even loved, again, consistencies with the score and even some of the camera work. And one I noticed was when Victor and Oz first meet, anytime the camera was on Victor in their conversation, behind him was like blurred, like in a circular motion, kind of showing like think of if a character's having anxiety in a movie or something, or the way they animate the background behind him as if it's shaking in a circular motion. I absolutely loved that. I thought that was such a cool detail because every time it shined back on Oz, his background wasn't blurred at all. It was blurred just a little bit because he's in focus. But anytime it switched to Victor, it was just like everything going on behind him. And so I think there's a lot of consistencies between the way the Batman floored us all in terms of filmmaking in the way that this is doing the same, which I can only praise.
Damn, bro. Way to gas it up. It's flooring you? Okay, buddy. Okay.
This
It's
guy.
episode 1.
This is the
Calm
same.
down.
This is the same guy. I'm so excited for Agatha. I'm so excited. Who's Aubrey Plaza's character? Who is she? I'm itching.
Hey, listen, put some respect. Hey. Put some
I have
respect
a
on
theory.
Aubrey
They're gonna
Plaza.
bring Wanda back in the. Shut up, man. All right.
Sorry, I care about the media I consume. All right. Sorry, I care. Is that what you want me to say? Is that what you want me to say? Golly.
Some of us
But-
only care about One Piece.
Oof. Oh, damn. He just came at your neck, boy.
Very much so.
He just came at your neck.
I'll own up
That's
to it, man.
crazy.
I will own up to that. What are
Nobody has to,
some
bro.
what are some villains that, if they could get a show like Penguin in the Batman universe, would you want to see? I, for one, would love to see a Joker show. I know Charlie would. Charlie's with me,
Boy off
right?
the podcast, bro. Get this boy off the podcast.
Charlie's with me, right?
Please, bro. I don't know. That's a good question, actually. Because like Batman, obviously, he's got the rogues gallery, right? Other than like Spider-Man. There's lots of talk of Mr. Freeze being potentially in part 2 of the Batman, right? And I think that he could have an interesting story if they touch on like what happened to his wife and like his whole purpose for delving down this freezing path or whatever. Hush could be an interesting one as well. I don't know, man. That's really because like and I also want to preface I'm not the DC guy, so like if you in the comments if you think I'm making terrible choices, let me know. Let us know in the fan mail section. Wink. But I don't know. I can't really like I don't want to say something stupid like Killer Croc. Like that'd be dumb. You know, that'd be stupid. Scarecrow I also think would be dumb. There'd be a lot of dumb TV shows. I think the Penguin is dumb. Golly, bruh. That's crazy.
I really think that there wouldn't be too many that would work. And people have kind of gone back and forth on if they're a big fan of like how grounded the Batman is and how grounded that they want to keep that universe just because they can't tap into some things fully. And I honestly feel like this more grounded, like Penguin is a very grounded villain. And like Riddler's interpretation was as well. That lends itself to good storytelling. Whereas even like Mr. Freeze, yeah, I think they could pull it off, but like telling a full 8-episode story, it just doesn't feel as justified as something that's grounded. I mean, that's just true because like when it's grounded, that means that like the reality in this case of Gotham and the world that we live in, the atmosphere, the character just like fits well within the reality of it. So I do actually feel like there wouldn't be that many that it would work super well, and Penguin was a good choice, I think.
You think they wouldn't work super well because they're fantastical, or is that what you're saying? Or
And also because, at least in my opinion, like when I think of superhero villains, I think of like a villain, rising to power or whatever, getting powers and deciding to use them for evil. And there's kind of this like, it's not a very huge arc by the time that they gain power, and then, they fight a superhero and they lose power, they're killed, they're, controlled, whatever it may be. And so like, if you have somebody like a Mr. Freeze, like Mr. Freeze, I don't see like if he's in the Batman 2, I don't see the end of the Batman 2 leaving Mr. Freeze in a place where like it makes sense to tell 8 episodes of a story with Mr. Freeze living in the world of Gotham and whatnot. Like I just don't think it's as justified because like Penguin's evil as a mob boss is tied into the crime of Gotham. And that's something that's always going to be there. There's always something happening with the different families, factions, whatnot. Whereas like a Mr. Freeze, you just don't have that same groundwork. So that like
You think that
passion
they
that
could lay that groundwork in part two?
maybe I just think it would be hard like that passion that they have for this project and that story that they're telling. I think for Penguin it was almost just right in front of them. Like it was an obvious continuation. I think it's just harder with some of those other villains to have that like clear path that makes it justifiable.
I like that. Very detailed answer, Benjamin. Very like high tier. You know, just great stuff.
Thank you so much.
But does anybody have anything else that they would like to say about the Penguin on HBO Max? Not Max.
I do briefly.
Okay.
His
Let us hear.
mother.
Mommy.
Uh, I think we already kind of touched on it, but it was kind of a nice moment for him to like seeing his relationship with his mother. It almost you sympathize with him a little bit. I think I thought that a couple of times, just like they're very much humanizing him and his character, which is good because like you care about him even though he's not a good dude. But his relationship with his mother, one of the things I thought was interesting was that like even though she is clearly a little crazy, she also like is fully supportive of her son to the point of like enabling him to almost elevate himself and step into the role like Charlie mentioned of becoming, like more of a head mob boss amongst all these families and whatnot, which I thought was like a really interesting dynamic because at first when we meet her and we learn that she has she's mentally challenged, um I thought she would be unaware of Oz's doings and all of those situations and whatnot. And then he, when he's just like, yeah, I killed him because he laughed at me, and she basically said like, and you want to run? You can't take that. Like just the fact that like she's a driving factor for him becoming more powerful in the crime world of Gotham. I don't know. I find that to be like really interesting, but like a cool motivation for his character of like he doesn't have a lot of people who believe in him. He doesn't have a lot of people who support him. He's seen as like, hired help who can help run all these shipments and these drops and businesses and whatnot. But he's seen as, disposable. And so like having it be his mother have that connection and be the one who like, fully believes in him when basically nobody else does and he's kind of a loner. I find that dynamic really interesting and like a really cool way to motivate him.
Yeah. And it also seems like a bit of like abuse, emotional abuse, at least in a sense to me. I get, um, in the sense that it's one of those like codependent relationships. Like she won't let him treat her a certain way that will endanger the sort of relationship that they continue to have. And I think I might be thinking of when I say that. I think there was a clip. Yeah, I think it was during the after episode part. So yeah, I don't think you guys. I don't know if you guys watched it, but
No.
during the episode after episode part where it says like in the upcoming episodes of the Penguin, there's like they show a little clip. So maybe I guess I'm speaking a little bit too far ahead than when I say that, but I do think there's hints of like a very codependent, toxic sort of relationship going on there between the two of them, and I'm sure that's going to be explored more. So I don't want to dive into it too much then, since there's not much to go off of, because I do remember that it was in that after scene part. But I do think for a baseline of this episode, it was a great introduction to Oz's sort of mental capacity when it comes to his family, his mother specifically, and just how the mentality he got because of her growing up. Like it's very apparent, and it's easily it's more easily understood now, and how she continues to enable that sort of behavior, I guess, is interesting, because it makes you think like well, what else is he gonna do out of sheer like anger or desire to blast somebody, you know? So without thinking. Because I also, that's something else I didn't mention. Like right after he shot Alberto, I love how he's like laughing about it, and then right before the credits pop up, he's like, "Oh, what the?" I thought that was great too. So
I also loved
Yeah.
that the G in the title of the penguin is like a super sharp to where it looks like a long pointy nose. I never looked at the logo long enough to see it that way, but when the title card showed up, it you could see it very clearly.
oh yeah.
Cool little nod.
Yeah.
I tried to look up the title and all I saw was the peak Gwen from someone on Twitter. I almost called it X. Oh my god, my brain's rotting. I gotta get off of here.
Nah, bro. You know you
Jesus.
want to call it that, bro. That's crazy.
I'm
That's
fighting.
just built into you.
I'm fighting back.
But I think that's going to bring us to the end of our discussion on The Penguin, episode 1, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you very much for joining us. If you have listened to the whole thing, we thank you. Seriously, that's you're a G for that. Can't lie. Again, if you're on any sort of podcast listening platform, please give us a rating. Give us a good one. We'd really appreciate it. Help us out a ton. And also, don't forget to leave a comment. Leave us some fan mail. We would love to read your comment on the show. Insult me. Please, I beg of you. I want to read that. I think, and maybe you'll get me to cry on the episode. Think of that. That'd be cool. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. That would help us out a ton as well. We'd super appreciate it, because we got tons more coming. Obviously, we're going to keep following this show. We're following Agatha all along. We got lots of movies coming out. The Joker comes out next week. Joker 2, I should say. Venom 3 later. We got lots of stuff coming up. So please, if you are interested at all, follow us along on the journey. But if not, if you just came here for this one episode, we still appreciate you. Thank you so much. Adios.
Peace.
Sayonara.